limiting condition. Despite my ups and downs, I will not allow it to limit my ability to truly live. Well-being is my passion. In this series, I interview all the people who help and inspire me to work body, mind and spirit naturally and choose happiness. Come join me on my well-being adventure. Okay, well, thank you, Emma, for joining me today. Emma is a naturopath. She's also the founder of the School of Naturopathic Nutrition. So we'll start off by actually telling everyone what naturopathy is.
Yeah, so naturopathic nutrition is using food as a medicine, and the basis of the philosophy is actually healing our bodies and getting our balance back by using food. Now, there are other things that are part of the philosophy, such as herbal medicine, homeopathy, and we focus quite a bit on detoxification with using some of our techniques. But the basis of our philosophy is actually quite simple. It's using food to heal the body, and often we overlook that in a basic day-to-day situation because we're thinking that we need medication or something stronger. But actually, when you balance the body through food, it's much simpler. It puts the baseline back into the balance, and therefore anything you put in terms of medicine on top of that works stronger.
Okay. And let's find out a little bit about why you turned to naturopathic way.
Yeah, it was actually quite a long time ago now. I've been practicing for 18 years, so it was back in 1994, and I'd just gone through my teacher training and was unable to actually take a job because I developed ME. And in those days, chronic fatigue just wasn't recognised as an illness, although there was lots of symptoms that I had. So the medical profession actually said it's a waiting game, you just have to sort of see it through really. And it was debilitating. I actually had lots of allergies, lots of health symptoms, bedridden quite a lot of the time. And I was sort of early 20s, so you can imagine the situation. So I then went on a journey to look at, okay, what is it that can solve this? Because it was solvable, I believed it was solvable. I'd read that other people had solved it. So I started on a journey with natural therapies, yoga, massage, reflexology. And then I was lucky enough actually to be given a card by a naturopath, who's a well-known naturopath. And it was one of those chance situations because I was actually on a train and I was sat next to someone. We got into the sort of chat around chronic fatigue, and this lady said, go and see this lady. So literally I booked an appointment, went to see her, travelled to Devon, and in that session it was a real eye-opener because I felt like I'd had a good diet, but it wasn't a conducive diet to getting well. So the first thing she did was my diet went organic, I went vegan, and from there, so quickly my health was starting to pick up, and coupled then with some supplementation, the basis of really chronic fatigue was adrenal exhaustion, adrenal burnout. I burnt the candle both ends leading into that, and there was quite a few food sensitivities. So when those changes happened within my diet and lifestyle, within 6 months I was really feeling amazing, actually, quite a short space of time. So I took a new career path then. I decided to train with the School of Naturopathic Nutrition in Bristol, and then went on to teach for the same school and set up a college in Dublin in Ireland. And from there, having had all that experience, I then set up the School of Naturopathic Nutrition in Wales. So it's been an 18-year journey.
Yeah.
And what's great about this work is that other people have transformations all the time, and that's really inspiring. But also my health is continuously improving. I feel like it's never ending once you start on this approach. Where I was in my 20s, I've got triple the amount of energy now. I've just had 2 children over the last 3 years, and I'm managing work and babies and breastfeeding and all those sort of things, which I couldn't even think about having children, all that time ago when I had such exhaustion. So it was a completely life-changing path, and something that was meant to be really, because I believe that illness usually comes about to actually reinvent ourselves or to actually push us in the right direction of where we need to go in life.
Yeah.
As much as I enjoyed teaching and becoming a primary school teacher, it actually wasn't really in my heart what was right for me with my life, and now I sort of feel very inspired by what I do. And work is sort of play really. When I tell people about work, I feel like I go to work and it's play really, because it's something that's really enjoyable.
Yeah. How long, so with your Emmy, from when you started the journey of actually getting the right stuff in your body, how long would you say it took until you reached a good level of health?
At 6 months I felt like I was well enough to do work again, but it took about 2 years to complete that cycle. I felt at the 2-year mark that, gosh, I've really got a good baseline of health back now. And actually it became ongoing, so probably the next milestone was 7 years in, where I was at a place where at a very high level of health compared to where I was at the 2-year mark. So it's a journey, but I usually say to my clients, only 6 months in, you've got a really good baseline, so the immunity's better, the adrenals have recovered, but then the 2-year mark is the next turning point. So it actually takes 7 years to rebuild every cell in the body. So often people get a good state of health, but if they go back to their old ways with diet or lifestyle, then maybe old symptoms will creep in. But usually at 7 years there's significant change there to hold that balance in the body.
I think one of the biggest issues with people, because we're so used to following the conventional medicine, we just want a quick fix. So if you tell someone it's going to take you 2 years of eating healthy and looking after yourself, and then you see the benefit, that's going to put a lot of people off because they want the pill that's a quick fix. But as I've learned from your course, that's just suppressing the root cause of everything. So what tips would you give people to keep going on the natural way?
I think that the biggest tip is to make it an enjoyable process, and I'm sure you found already once you start eating healthy, it's like contagious. You want to eat more of the healthy things, and because the feel-good factor's there, and it doesn't need to be, health food doesn't need to be boring. You can make such amazing recipes now. There's so much abundance of whole food, isn't there? And so that's the first tip, is make it enjoyable and make it creative, a creative process. And also look for changes on other levels. So mental, emotional health improves in such a drastic way when we eat for our body type or eat within balance with the seasons, for example. So physical symptoms may be slower to change, but actually the feeling of wanting to sort of get on with your day, wake up in the morning, feel sort of inspired is there. And those are sort of the things that keep people going, because it may take some time for long-standing chronic symptoms to disappear, but other aspects of the person are thriving, and to feel, that depression doesn't, most people I think experience depression either within a working week or within a month at some point, whether it be hormone related, etc. But actually when you eat well, there's more evenness in the lifestyle, there's more balance, so you don't get these huge highs and lows, but also you don't pick up acute things like colds and viruses that people get so frequently now. It's something that's, you may be working on the long-term health, but the acute things just disappear really. And actually if they do come up, you know how to treat them then, so they go away quite quickly.
So what do you say? So I've been watching a lot of documentaries and stuff. Once you start on this journey, you just want more and more information. You just want to find out everything about it. And I'm watching a lot of things around autoimmune diseases. And people say you can heal all autoimmune disease. Would you believe that? Would you say yes?
I've seen it happen. Whether when people put the work in with their lifestyle, autoimmune diseases do reverse. Basically the body goes into overdrive and starts attacking itself when we go into autoimmune. And usually something has set that off, severe stress, severe dehydration. Sometimes food sensitivities and allergies will set the body into that self-attack then. And so, yeah, you know, it is reversible. It's looking at what actually was the causative factor and then changing usually 3 things in the lifestyle minimum in order to support that. So the first thing often is the hydration process. It sounds simple, but many people are chronically dehydrated. Coffees are getting larger and larger, aren't they? And it's taking more and more for people to get started in the day. So the first point of call would be actually to get the 2 litres of water in and start taking out the caffeine, sugar, the foods that set off dehydration. And I think going organic is quite a big thing for helping that area of disease, autoimmune. The genetically modified food is a big problem, you know, now in the food chain, and that really does affect the immune system. So yeah,
because you know, I was trying to go refined sugar free, and you can't eat any processed food if you're going refined sugar free, because there's sugar in everything. You won't even realise it. They read the ingredients. I think that's mainly people's issues. They don't read ingredients on packs.
And actually going as a great starting point to not have any processed food for a month, to cook everything from basics. You know, if you think about the previous generation, our parents and grandparents, they wouldn't have had as much processed food as we do now, and it's become the norm, hasn't it? And so not just sugar, but so many other things added into that food, so the food is not very nutritious, and you get chemicals, etc. But going sugar free is a big step, because sugar is very inflammatory really in the body. It actually increases inflammation and increases dehydration, of course, plays havoc with the blood sugar.
Yeah, so you were saying the first thing maybe to try is to go without processed food, but I know that the first thing people are going to say is, oh, life's too busy. I haven't got time to cook every night. It's easier to grab something from the freezer. What would be the easy way of doing things? It doesn't have to be like a big meal, you know, like a lot of work goes into it.
Just really, most of the things that I make don't take longer than 30 minutes, and because I've got 2 children and busy lifestyle. But it's quite interesting when people have low energy. It feels like a chore, literally, to chop the vegetables and to put something together, and it's difficult to know what to mix together. But I think, you know, try and keep the food choices really simple. And simple things like, for example, some clients microwave their porridge and it takes a minute, and it only takes 5 minutes on the stove. So it's sort of, okay, swapping over to microwaving is not good for us, you know. I think we all know that, but people do it as convenience. So ditching things like microwaves, thinking about, you know, okay, it takes 20 minutes to cook quinoa. If you buy it out of a packet, it's going to be void of nutrients, really. So 20 minutes is not a big deal. You can get around it by soaking it. It shortens the length of time. So, you know, soak it while you're at work and then cook it up, or cooking up for 3 days. You can freeze these type of things. But if you're buying something in a packet from the supermarket, you can imagine that's, you know, very degraded in terms of nutrients, because it's been sat there for weeks.
So you said about hydration, that's the first step. Where would you go from there?
There's 7 stages to this approach, and we simplify it in that way so that people can take it on in that order. So I say to people, there's no point having a great diet if you're not drinking water, because the body doesn't absorb nutrients if you're not hydrated. So the first stage is actually to get the water levels up, reducing the caffeine, alcohol, sugar, that we call them diuretics. So they're diuretics, they're dehydrating. So stage 1 is that. Stage 2 is actually making suitable food choices that are moving in the right direction to health. So that may be going organic for someone. It may be taking out, you know, the processed foods, as we just said, sugar. For the 2 biggest food groups which really do affect our digestion in a negative way is gluten and dairy. And mainly because those foods are quite difficult to digest. So usually with our approach, if someone's got illness and symptoms, being gluten and dairy free is a given. in terms of the starting process of getting well. And from there then the body, it takes the stress off the body. And we look at water-rich foods. So when you're thinking about eating a hydrated diet, it would be a high vegetable content, some fruit, having foods that ideally are organic and plant-based. So moving towards the plant-based process, all the research now has shown that plant-based medicine has much bigger results than using the high-protein Atkins or any of the high-protein diets, paleo and that sort of thing. What works about that for people is that going grain-free makes a difference to blood sugar. So going grain-free usually means that gluten is taken out, so people do get an improvement, but it's not sustainable to be having high meat environmentally, but also for the body. And so that would be short-term thing, and the next step there would be to go plant-based, high-protein plant-based.
Okay.
And I think, with the whole veganism thing that's out there, vegan revolution at the minute, everyone is jumping on that. Yeah. The phase from veganism is a raw food diet. So one of my concerns around the vegan diet, although it's wonderful, it's a big step in the right direction, is the processed food side of it, the soy and all these fake meat substitutes. Now, it may be a stopgap, for people to get people off meat, a transition, but if with our approach, we are continuously improving ourselves, and so the next step from there would be to take out the processed plant-based foods and bring in foods that are natural in state, like avocados and sprouted pulses, seeds and some nuts, and using protein that comes from its natural source rather than a processed source. And from there, usually people go more heavily on the raw food tangent, and I feel that's a natural progression from the vegan diet.
Okay. Do you know, going back to gluten, dairy?
Yeah.
I think people are like, oh, gluten, can't give up bread, pasta, all of this.
Yeah.
People are focusing too much on what they have to give up and not focusing on the benefits of the way it'll make them feel. Because I've given up all of that, and I it's not easy, because I would love a piece of bread or whatever, but my treat is my health, and it's looking at it in a positive way and focusing on what I get from it instead of what I've lost. So and I saw in a documentary, it was saying that if you're intolerant or have a sensitivity, you might not feel the effect till maybe 2 days later, so you won't relate it back to
That's right.
the gluten.
Yeah, the typical is a 3-day delay, in terms of symptoms. It's when it's coming out of the body, you often get the reaction.
How would someone know they have a gluten or dairy sensitivity?
I think that the only way really to try it is to do an exclusion diet, to take out that food group, gluten or dairy, for at least 10 days, and then notice how you feel. Initially, in the first 3 days, there'll be strong cravings because the body's having a withdrawal, and people who are very intolerant to gluten and dairy crave it in such a big way that it becomes very difficult to take out. There are tests that we do also in clinic, hair tests, blood tests, which can prove the intolerance. But you can tell really in terms of the addiction that you may have towards the food, but also if there's symptoms like bloating, digestive issues, low energy, taking out those food groups, especially gluten with energy, makes a really marked difference. With dairy products, because pasteurised milk is quite difficult to digest and quite mucus forming, people are they get a lot of colds and things, and sort of congestion in the body, like coughing and sinus issues, that sort of thing. So the improvement when you go dairy free is actually not having any colds or avoiding colds. Makes a big difference. Yeah.
Okay. One of the things I keep telling people is, so if you get a rash on your arm or something, you'd go to the doctor, you get a cream, put it on the rash will go.
Yeah.
But that's a message from saying there's an organ, there's a root cause of it, so
Yes.
you need to sort that out first. How would someone have to go and see a naturopath to find out what the root cause is, or can people work it out? Is it a way?
Yeah, it's a really simple system, really, remembering that the body's always working for you. So when you get a symptom, it's like an alert system. Hang on, there's something not right here. So a skin reaction usually is really linked with the bowel and the digestive system. So it's remembering that your body's actually your friend, it's supporting you and doing the best for you. The symptom is your body alerting you so that something more chronic doesn't come out at a later stage. So it's seeing these symptoms as signals, and so that you don't get a crisis later on in life. Because often when there's no signals, if the body's been medicated or suppressed, as you described, by putting something like steroid cream on, then it will come out more chronic at a later stage, and it becomes like a crisis then, rather than an acute or a small symptom. So we were talking about acupuncture and how the acupuncture meridians link in with different organs, and so if there's something on a particular part of the body, it's a signal that the internal organ related to that part of the body is not feeling well. So it's what then you can look at foods and detoxification techniques to improve that link. So in the Chinese system, the body's like a map. The tongue is a map, the eyes, the hands, the feet, and they tell us exactly what's happening in terms of the internal state. The pulse, so we diagnose through all these methods really, which make a big difference to understanding what's going on. But as you said, with the skin, when the skin is showing up an issue, it's quite simple, really simply linked with the digestive system. So usually by taking out a food group that is prone to causing allergic reactions, for example milk or sugar, then it actually you find the symptoms may go away.
So after the diet, what comes next? So hydration, diet.
Yeah, so stage 3 is essential fatty acids, and they're the good fats, that we often don't get enough of in a daily diet. When we don't get the good fats, we crave the bad fats. So that's where the addictions come in, such as, crisps, chips, the things that we know are bad for us, but sometimes it's overwhelming, the need to eat them, to process chocolate. So what the body does is, because it requires fats for balance of blood sugar and hydration, if we're chronically low in the good fats, we just go for all the processed saturated fats, which make the situation worse, but temporarily they may give us a feel-good factor. As we know, when we eat those foods, we feel tired and sluggish afterwards. So the key for stage 3 is actually to increase the omega-3s and 6s through plant-based food, and that makes a significant change with blood sugar and cravings. So then the diet improves naturally, because we require less of those bad oils or the hydrogenated oils. And that's a big key to hydration as well, because the water and the oil actually regulate to lubricate the body. So if we're just drinking water, maybe skin doesn't look hydrated or feel hydrated until we bring the essential fatty acids in. So that's the omega-3s and 6s. So that would be things like flaxseed, hemp oil, chia seeds, soaked linseeds, avocados, coconut oil. So they're starting to become popularised, aren't they, now? This is something that's essential, and something that's actually essential for weight balance as well. So people think they need to avoid fat to lose weight, but it's actually the good fats, it aids the metabolism, actually, I
think someone in work with me was saying that on the Weight Watchers, avocado is like a big sin. It's like, it's good fat, come on.
Yeah, right, yeah. It's just a different system, really.
Yeah.
We find with the people I work with and people I teach in the school, that when the essential fatty acids come up, it makes such a marked difference with hormones and health, and the weight regulates usually. It's such an important factor. Going fat-free does mean you might lose weight initially, but then if you sustain that, usually big deficiencies kick in, and then someone's into the yo-yo dieting cycle then, where they're good in the week and then they have huge binges on the weekend of ice creams or cakes, all the sweet fatty things, to regulate those deficiencies. So it becomes a lifelong mission then of losing weight, gaining weight, etc., rather than sustaining weight in the right balance. Yeah.
What's the next step on every supplement?
Yeah, so the next step is supplements. Yeah, so remembering supplements, actually there's some synthetic supplements out there as well, and some of the supplements are low dosages, so not enough to make a difference. So when we're choosing supplements, we're looking for food ingredients. Sounds ridiculous actually to say food ingredients, but many supplements aren't food ingredients, they are synthetically made chemicals that do nothing for the body. So food grade or foods that are actually put into capsule or in powders, superfoods, there's a good way of supplementation, and there are often common ones that crop up in many people. So the B vitamins, for example, get depleted under stress, and especially when we drink caffeine or alcohol. So that's something that shows up in quite a lot of people. Magnesium is quite a mineral that's quite common as a deficiency as well, mainly because the soil is deficient in magnesium, and many people are short of greens in the diet. Greens contain magnesium. So those ones show up quite a lot. And then, as I said, the essential fatty acids, vitamin D, that's something that's really common now, and there's much more awareness around that, and that can make a huge difference to hormonal balance and mood. Vitamin D regulates over 200 hormones in the body, including serotonin, which is our mood regulator. So there will be key things that maybe if we tested a lot of people who have certain symptoms, then those ones would come up. So making choices of supplements that work related to the deficiencies, rather than just taking a multivitamin and mineral, for example, that would be such a low dosage of everything, it wouldn't necessarily touch any chronic symptoms, you know. So therapeutic dosages is what we do in stage 4, really.
Okay, so you would recommend though to get the hydration and the diet before going for the supplements, because people probably tell vitamins, we gotta go natural, we'll get the vitamins, then they miss the first step. So
yeah, absolutely. So the first steps are essential, because sometimes when people come in for a one-to-one session with me, they may be taking 20 plus supplements because they've looked up in a book or on the internet and they can see that they're deficient. But actually, if you put the diet in place and more water, and it doesn't have to be a huge overhaul of diet, just some simple changes, then stage 1 and 2 actually solve quite a few of the symptoms before you even get to supplements. So initially someone might come off everything actually supplement wise in order to get stage 1 and 2 right, and from there you can save money because you won't need such a list of supplements, but also feel better. Supplements can be dehydrating if the body's hasn't got that baseline of fluid.
So hydration, like I can rave about getting your hydration because I think I went 30 years without drinking water. And like when I started coming on the course, like the first thing, got the hydration back on. And now I get my 2 litres a day, and it's just the change in energy, you would see it quite instantly.
Mental clarity, food cravings, blood sugar, it's incredible how simple it is actually, but many people are actually thinking water from the tap and they find they don't like the taste, etc. So it's finding a water that suits them, and ideally filtering the water so that the water actually feels good to take in then. And it does take time as well to increase, because as you said, 30 years of not drinking it. Same with me until I actually discovered naturopathic nutrition. I wasn't a water drinker, and it was one of the major things that transformed my health, and still does. People often say, how is your skin so good, don't have any wrinkles, I'm in my 40s. It's purely water, honestly. It's not to do with creams, or I don't use any creams on the face. It's more to do with hydration and getting the right balance of essential fats, and that is the biggest anti-aging thing we can do, really.
Saying about no creams on the face or anything, like I've stopped with all my chemicals, so I don't put any chemicals on my body. So what's the reason behind that? Why you shouldn't?
Yeah, it's one of the stages of treatment actually, the 7 stages, because environmentally, you know, we are breathing in an array of chemicals usually through our cleaning products and the skin products that we may put on and perfumes, etc. So it increases our toxicity levels then. So we're absorbing through the skin is the largest organ, and through the nose, the mouth, a high level of chemical pollution. So it does create an overload on the immune system. So usually when we get a health crisis, it's a number of contributing factors. It's not just what we're eating, it's what we're consuming through our cosmetics, through the chemical industry, etc. The average person, when added up, there was statistics recently, takes in over 2,000 chemicals a day. That's really hard to believe, isn't it? But cleaning products in the house, office, environmental pollutions, etc. Obviously the food chain has chemicals within it as well, if it's not organic, etc. Lipsticks are probably the worst things for negative estrogens. There's synthetics in them that mimic estrogen in the body. And studies have shown when they've taken the extracts of forms of cancers like ovarian cancers, etc., breast cancers, there's a high level of synthetics in those tumours that have come in through deodorants, lipsticks, skin products. So it is a big factor. When you clean up your diet, the next step actually is to clean up the environment for you, and put in simple things like coconut oil on the skin, rose water, going organic and natural, vegan lipsticks. There's so many companies now who are on board with that.
Yeah.
And the latest thing that's been sort of in the media has been perfumes, hasn't it? Should perfumes be banned, you know?
Okay.
High chemical estrogenics, synthetics that mimic estrogens in the body. So then they play with the body's hormones.
Yeah.
And again, there's loads of natural perfumes now made from essential oils. Wonderful things out there. So we, in a way, our generation now, we've got it all at our fingertips. We've just got to change our mindsets around flipping over into the new. I suppose it's a new paradigm, really, a new set of rules to work with. You know, because we wouldn't have questioned these things in the past. Yeah.
Yes, you're saying about changing the mindset. It's really hard though, because with the marketing out there, and like you've only got to search on TV and all the adverts are like McDonald's and pizza and all that. Yeah. And you've even got like the program that's really popular is Bake Off.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's just like baking has become a huge thing. And I saw there was an ad from the other day, but to Bake Off, to fight cancer or something, they got a special Bake Off. And we know that one of the causes of cancer is an acidic environment. So cakes contribute to that. So what kind of message is that sending out? So people are following what they see on TV and things. How are they gonna change from that?
Yeah, I think once your diet improves, there's usually a clarity comes with that around what feels good for you personally, and like your body's a bit like an experimental tube in a way. You know, what you put in, then what you get out of it. So I think, you know, those things may draw people in because they may look amazing to the eye. But actually, if people question how they feel after having a large slice of sugar-rich cake, it's a quick high and then an energy dip usually. And so it's coming back to actually question how do you feel after what you put into the mouth, and how do you feel in a couple of hours after, rather than that instant gratification, you know. And remembering it doesn't need to be boring. Like people think when they give up cake they've got to avoid everything, but there's so many amazing recipes, especially in the raw food world, where you don't even have to bake a cake. You know, you can mix some ingredients together as superfoods. You know, you've had the sugar-free coconut sugar chocolate, haven't you? And some of these amazing cupcakes that come out of the raw food world, where people are actually being very creative with it. They look great, they taste great, you get a high, but you don't get the dip. So you can substitute many of these things, and it still becomes a creative and inspiring process. And that's the key, really, is to find substitutes. and to notice actually how you're feeling and make it a personal journey rather than,
being mindful of what you're eating really and the way you feel.
How you're feeling, maybe keep a food and mood diary for a month to start to feel the links, because in that moment it's sense gratification, isn't it? You want to satisfy that craving in the moment. But if we keep a journal, we start to see how we're feeling on a regular basis, then it does make the links more easily, and that's a big change then. And I think once the sugar's out of the diet, it's like you wouldn't want to go back to it really, because the highs and lows of that, especially hormonally. I find when women give up sugar, their PMT goes away. It really does.
Mine is going, like, I used to have really bad cramps with mine, but it's all good now, and
that's amazing.
It's obviously come from my lifestyle. So with sensitivities and things, and like with sugar, it takes a couple of months to get it out of the system, and then that's when, so if you went a couple of months without gluten and you'd have it again, that's when you'd feel tired and stuff, because I'd never have like stomach aches or anything after gluten.
Yes.
But now, because going gluten free for so long, whenever I have it, I'm tired, I'm moody. I can see how it makes me feel, whereas before I wasn't glued onto it.
Yeah.
Because I was so used to having it and feeling that rubbish way.
Yeah, we get used to a low grade of health really. When we eat gluten regularly, by the third time we've eaten it, usually we've got so used to feeling low energy, we're having that coffee then to pick us up in the morning, some extra coffee in the afternoon, more sugar. So it's a constant stimulation that we're taking in, and we become addicted in a way to food. We have to have food to keep us going, or caffeine. So when you take it out, 3 weeks in, there's a clarity there, and the body's cleaner. So when you do put it in, it's an instant, the body tells you, gives you that message much more quickly. So I've been gluten-free now for 20 years, and if gluten creeps in, there's an instant shift in terms of energy, and I can still function, etc. But it's not something I want to live with, because it really affects my day-to-day activity. So I choose to be gluten-free, even though there's no intolerance there. I feel better gluten-free, and that's why people generally are taking on board gluten-free, low-grain diet now. We feel better without it.
Do you know people who jump on this? If you go to like a supermarket, there's like loads of gluten-free stuff. Yeah. But they're not healthy stuff. Can you explain it?
Yeah, it's unfortunate actually, isn't it, that the whole gluten-free industry has become popular in one sense, but the side line of that is high sugar, high fat, high processed ingredients. And so I often say to clients, being gluten-free doesn't mean swapping that bread for gluten-free bread, or swapping those biscuits for more biscuits gluten-free. We're talking about a whole food diet, an unprocessed diet, because those gluten-free products are not going to make you feel good. There might be a short-term resolution to make the transition, but they're not a long-term resolution. And we all know biscuits aren't good for us, or cakes and things, especially at high quantity. Sometimes people will swap to gluten-free and they eat a whole packet, for example, and it's we kid ourselves, don't we? Yeah, we kid. I think we all do that, So it's sort of having that balance, and what you find is the more hydrated you are, the more you've got the fats in, the good fats. There's more balance with your eating, so you don't actually enjoy things like that. Eventually you get to that process, but it's a gradual thing, and it's something that is a journey rather than a quick fix, as we said at the beginning.
Because it's the same thing, you'd see on a packet, it would say no added sugar, and people think, this is healthy, no added sugar, but
Absolutely,
If there's no sugar in there, how do they make it sweet? There's chemicals in there. So.
Yeah, there is a range of foods out there now which is coconut sugar based or maple syrup, especially if you shop in health shops. But the free from sections are loaded with high levels of white sugar.
Yeah.
And so if it's not white sugar, it's going to be sweeteners, which are chemical. So they're not good options, really. Yeah.
So stick to fresh, make your own food.
Yeah, as natural as you can make it. And there are companies, who make natural things. There's various cake making companies out there now, if you're not able to make your own, that could produce, a birthday cake that's gluten, dairy free, sugar free, egg free, and there's so much popularity now with these things. There's always another option. That's the thing. Yeah.
And so we're in a day and age now where we got the internet and there's so many websites and recipes and stuff easily available. So it's not that hard, to start off with.
Absolutely. And when I first started my practice, it was quite difficult to convince people to go veggie and have the availability of products. And because I've been veggie for a long time, nearly 30 years, so it's veganism now is so out there. There's so many recipes online. There's so many groups you can join. There's also supermarkets have an array of products as well as health shops.
Okay, it's going back to 7. So we got hydration, we got the diet, essential fatty acids, supplements, cosmetics were in there.
Environmental cosmetics, and I just want to expand on that really in regards to environmental pollutions. One of the other factors now is electromagnetic stress, and the mobile phone industry, as we all know, and has completely got us all hooked, and Wi-Fi is in most people's homes and offices, etc. And there's an impact of that on the body. It does affect the nervous system and has an effect on our hydration process, because it's really something that's sort of invisible to the eye, but stimulating the body in a similar way to how stress does. And so this is generally a health concern for people. So part of the 7 stages is actually to make people aware that reduction in sort of electromagnetic frequencies makes a big difference. And we hear now, don't we, online, people having detoxes from their phones or their laptops, etc. And it's something that needs to happen really in order to reduce stress in the body. Especially when we're on the phone continuously throughout the day, etc. There needs to be a cap on that in terms to achieve health, because if we're on mobile phones, laptops in an excessive way, it affects our long-term health. I just wanted to talk about that a little, just to get the message out there that actually part of being healthy is being healthy with our conditioning, around phones and things, and starting to see it actually could be a health concern rather than something that's recreational all the time. It can be an addiction as well. So thinking about reducing that as part of an overall health balance would be good. So that's part of the environmental aspect of things as well. And then the two more that we haven't talked about, emotional health. Emotional health, the stress is a word that's used a lot these days, and what does stress really mean in terms of how it affects our physical body? It affects our adrenals and our hydration process, and so when we're under more stress, it actually has an influence on our B vitamins, magnesium, which then has an aggravating effect on our nervous system if we become deficient in those nutrients. So it's finding ways that will work personally to de-stress. That could be a yoga class, it could be going out with friends, doing things that actually uplift us emotionally, finding ways to look at the stress levels within life. You could be going to a counsellor or having a treatment once a month or once a week for some people. So it's targeting the stress factor within the lifestyle rather than really allowing it to rule us in one sense, and that makes a big difference to overall health, because often we can think eating well is the key, but actually we need to support our emotional and mental well-being as well.
But changing your diet on hydration and stuff would also help the emotional side in a way, because it helps with the mind, so you might be able to cope with things better.
Absolutely, it becomes interlinked. Absolutely. And in the same way, if we tackle things that have been overwhelming us emotionally, our diet will improve as well, because we all know if we feel low in ourselves, we go for the sugar, or we'll go for something, the carb-rich food that will give us temporary satisfaction. So they are very interlinked, aren't they, in terms of the food mood factor. So that, linking them up as well, and doing things that will snap us out of that stress, noticing how we're feeling in a situation. And it could be going for a short walk, or doing a short meditation, taking some time out from a situation that's overwhelming us. And that's a big key to also recognising how we feel in our bodies. And then the last phase, is our 7th stage of the treatment, is naturopathic techniques. So that would be using detox techniques to get the toxicity levels out. We tend to accumulate a lot in our lifestyle, and there's things that really improve detoxification. Simple things like salt baths or magnesium baths, using different techniques like skin brushing, hot and cold showering, exercise, yoga practice, meditation. They're all part of the naturopathic techniques, which help to improve movement in the body. And that makes quite a difference. Exercise and fresh air, simple, but oxygenation of the cells, oxygenation of the body really improves our mental clarity and our physicality.
So basically, overall, you put those 7 together for the perfect lifestyle. To get your optimum potential, for sure. There may be other factors, for people when they've got some personal things that they would add to that, and that's what naturopathy is. It's having a baseline. That's the baseline of our philosophy. But then there may be things that can contribute to that overall feel-good factor. You mentioned acupuncture, didn't you? Now that's something I really advocate, and that could be another layer of getting to your maximum potential. Because, in our bodies, in this life, we want to get the most out of it. And when you've got the health right, so much is possible, actually, in motivation, creativity. And I think it really helps people to find also their niche in terms of what they're meant to be doing in life. Because sometimes low energy and low vibration, I say it in regards to low mood, etc., can really then allow us to go on a path that maybe is mundane or not suitable for us. So it does really. So it's finding what works for you, basically. So acupuncture might not work for you, but reflexology maybe going to class and doing yoga would not be your thing, but going for a walk on your own, having the me time, that's really important. Maybe that works. So it's just trying different things and finding what works for you.
I think the key is that anything you do really improves your lifestyle and health in the right direction. So often people will say, I forced myself to go for a run or to do this or that, and it's not conducive because they're feeling negative around it. It's the same with foods. When we're preparing foods, it needs to be done in a way where we feel it's actually really uplifting, to eat a meal and eat something that's good for us. So working towards the feel-good factor with all the choices that we're making in life, and then that can overflow in terms of our friendship groups, who we hang out with, attracting people who have like-mindedness, and also so that we're supported then like a community, in that process.
Because that's true, because I would see whenever I went to my naturopathy class, I'd come home buzzing, feeling great, because just being with like-minded people and having a chat with you, their energy, you feed off their energy.
Yes, we need that peer support and that connectiveness, and being online now, for so many people can give that just by doing it sort of through the internet, that can give a lot of connection, but it's even stronger when you're in person with people, isn't it? And so gravitating towards people and friends who are uplifting and supporting each other in the process. Yeah.
Just going back, you mentioned your busy family life.
Yeah.
Are the kids joining in with this healthy lifestyle?
Yes, they are. Yeah.
Are you seeing an improvement in them growing up? So with the healthy eating and stuff.
Yes, absolutely. It's really amazing actually to see how much vitality they have and how much energy. And so my children are 3 and 2, and they've never actually been to a doctor. They've never had any health issues in the short time that they've been here. They eat on a vegan diet. They've both been breastfed. They've had that sort of start where they haven't had any chemicals in the body really, and how that then shows in their short lifetime is that they don't get colds, they don't get anything that's more chronic like some children might get. So it's already paying off in terms of the lifestyle. We eat organically, and what I find is if they have a choice, if they're at a party and there is chocolates or sweet things on show and things, they generally don't gravitate towards those processed foods. They don't see them as food. So we don't actually say don't eat this or that, because I don't want to be that type of parent, but actually they don't recognise some of those things as food, so they don't pick them up off the plate. They'll go to the things that they're used to or things that they recognise as food, so the fruits and the vegetables and the natural things really. Yeah.
Because I always said I'd wish that my first 30 years that I hadn't ever touched all the rubbish food. Because now when I see a burger or something, like, I remember what that tasted, and it was a nice taste at the time, even though I know now I'm not going to eat it because it's not good for me.
Yeah.
But I'd love to have that feeling your kids have of not even recognising that rubbish food as food and not being tempted by it.
I have to say that the more longer term you're on this approach, you will look back and think that's almost like a different you, Now where I'm at in my lifestyle is, even if I was starving, I wouldn't be going for those types of foods, because they make you feel a certain way which is negative, so it becomes almost like the memory gets deleted, which sounds strange, but you're so used to feeling good. If you put things in the body that doesn't feel good, then you remember that, so you won't go there, eventually that will actually be...
I'm probably at the point where I wouldn't go there, but it's still
the cravings still and that's just memory which over time just goes away, because it literally doesn't become a power struggle then. It becomes like, you just know you don't feel like them, you're not drawn to those types of things which aren't good for us. It becomes a natural thing. The healthier you become really over time, you just find you just don't have the cravings. Or if you did, you might know that it's related to a deficiency, and so be able to sort of resolve it quicker.
So we were talking earlier about emotions. I know that you are very knowledgeable about the moon cycle and things. So can you tell us a bit about that, how that has an impact on our moods and...
Over the years, through working on myself and being involved with various groups that I've taught, etc., there's patterns that happen due to the astrology at the time. And when I did my training in naturopathy, it was a big part of the training where it was sort of noticing actually how we feel during different cycles. Now we all know we feel different seasonally, how we feel in the winter compared to summer, for example, due to the light changes, diet changes, etc. So we can see that seasons affect us, and we know when things change seasonally, it changes us as well. So and the Chinese have known this for centuries, in terms of the Chinese system. So the system that we work from is working with each season and how each season affects us in a particular way. The moon cycle aspect of things links in because we know how the tides are affected by the moon in terms of the pull and push of the water. The same thing happens in the physical body, and the way that affects us, it affects our balance of fluid, our balance of minerals, and so we are very influenced by the sun and the moon in quite a big way. But when we get extra astrological influences like eclipses, blue moons, we've got blue moon this month now in March, coming into March, and January we had blue moons, which means 2 full moons in a month. There's a stronger effect on the pull of the cell and the fluid balance, and that really affects how we function in a positive or negative way, depending on where our lifestyle is. And I suppose there's that saying, the lunar effect, isn't it? Lunatic around full moon, and we know that it's documented that people who have weaknesses or imbalances can get mentally or emotionally more out of balance during that time. But equally, if we support ourselves and we recognise it's a cycle of natural influence then is happening from the planets or from the moon or the sun, we can start to work with that energy. So we can start to predict actually what we need to do to support ourselves or to ease back on certain things in our lifestyle around strong lunar effects. It's interesting, in my practice, certain symptoms will flare up around full moons or especially eclipses, and then it's time. So then planning takes place, so the person can actually feel a bit more balanced during those times. And it's very influential. If you look back in your own diary to how things were in January, and if we look ahead for March, there's usually the stronger symptoms come out. If people have got weaknesses, it brings out their symptoms. But equally, if we work on ourselves during those times, it makes a big difference. So emotions can be affected as well. Things can get heightened emotionally. So that knowing those eclipses or blue moons are coming in advance then allows us to take the time out during that time, take extra care of ourselves so we don't react with that energy.
It's interesting. How would people find out more about it?
So there are quite a bit online now in regards to astrology. I write often on what's happening with the moon on Facebook, etc., and also teach classes. There are websites which link up with this, but actually if you join the Facebook group, that I am planning to do a monthly column again. I used to do a diary actually every year which described all the events of the year. So that's got to come back this year now. Yeah.
One thing I want to touch on is vaccinations. So let's get your feeling on that.
Yeah. Well, the fact is, compared to where I was at when I was young, compared to what babies are offered now, the vaccination intake is not only tripled, but is 10 times more in terms of the levels that children are getting. It's obviously going to have an overload on the immune system. The biggest thing we can do for a natural immunity to anything is actually get the diet right and to breastfeed. Now, if we haven't done that for ourselves, if we haven't had that beginning, then we can still catch up with working on our immunity through diet and working on the gut, etc. That's where the immunity lies, actually, in the bowel. So a vaccination doesn't prevent disease, really. You're actually looking at what the environment is doing in the body that gives you that preventative or that total immunity. So I would flip the whole vaccination thing and look at actually, okay, what do I need to do in my lifestyle to get that immunity naturally? Because, I was vaccinated when I was a child. I had all the childhood diseases because there were certain things in my diet which weren't in place and there were some deficiencies there. So it doesn't prevent, actually. Yeah.
But it all comes down to fear, isn't it? Like a parent, they would do it because that's the norm you're supposed to follow with conventional medicine and go with it. With the flu vaccination, being a disabled person myself, like every year they tell me to have one, and I used to have one, and then I'd still get the flu or things, so I'd be knocked out for over a week ill. And I stopped having it, and I've started changing my diet, and I'm not getting any flu symptoms or anything, so I think the proof is there, you know.
The diet is the biggest preventative, really, in terms of getting the environment right in the body. Yeah, and you know, you're using your body, as I said earlier, as the proof of that, because you feel better with that change in diet, and that stopped you getting the colds, hasn't it? Yeah.
Okay, so let's finish off with telling people where to start. As in, step one, do this tomorrow, get on it.
Yeah, so start with a good quality water.
Okay.
Water that has a good alkalinity of 7 pH and above, so that could mean filtering the water or purchasing a water filter. There's the whole plastic thing now, isn't it? You know, should we be drinking plastic water? Of course, environmentally it's not good, but it may be a transition, you know, to drink bottled water short term until you get that filter. Tap water isn't good enough to make us feel that good quality health. So the starting point to get the water levels up, start taking the processed food out, reduction in gluten and reduction in sugar and dairy. Those are the 3 major food groups. Going meat-free is a given, really. I think we all know that now is one of the ways to achieving health, you know, a meat-free diet, and the proof is that so many people now are going vegan. So I've given you quite a few tips there.
You know, the question that comes around meat-free is, where do I get my protein?
Yeah, so protein is found in so many plant-based foods, and it doesn't mean to say you've got to have processed foods either, because sometimes people think meat-free and it gets soya that resembles meat, like soya rashers or soya burgers and things like that. That may be a transition, but it's not the route to good health longer term. So we need to go back to basic plant-based foods like avocados, quinoa, green foods are high in protein, your seeds and your nuts. It's protein in most food groups, it's just that the greens are much higher in protein. So there's just an array, once you start getting into the plant-based world, there's an array of plant-based foods that are high in protein, like chia and hemp. So the list can go on, really. There's much more protein in plant-based foods that's more digestible to the body over meat,
So same with carbs, because there's no carbs in plant-based. So.
Yeah, I think basically root veg are a really good source of carb, and there are some seed carbs that you can go for, like millet and quinoa and buckwheat, but sweet potatoes, for example, whether it be spiraled and raw or cooked, are a great source of carb. So we just need to get into a different way of thinking in terms of where do we receive our proteins and carbs from.
Yeah, another way of thinking is you need sugar, you need for energy, so
yeah,
but you can get that through the healthy
there's so many natural sugars in basically root veg, fruits, and the fats actually make a difference to the blood sugar, but the sugars are within most vegetables and fruit anyway. Okay,
so there's awesome tips there. No one has an excuse not to get on. So with the School of Naturopathic Nutrition, do you want to tell us a bit about courses and stuff?
Yeah, so we do a 2-year or 3-year training, which allows people to become a nutritionist or a naturopath by the end of it, and that starts in September. We've also got a new course starting last week of March, which is a 12-week course. It's called the Rejuvenation course. It's a class-based course which takes you through the 7 stages, and you also get that peer group support that I mentioned. And this time it's going to be heavily based on how to move from veganism to a raw food diet, and a high percentage of superfoods on the course to try out, like wheatgrass shots and some of the interesting new superfoods that are out there now, and how to integrate them in the diet. So it'll be quite experimental. 12 weeks starting the end of March, and just get in touch through my website of lovenaturopathy.co.uk if anyone's interested.
I'll put the links below, so
thank you.
Check them out. I'm definitely no good excuse now, so go on the course, you know where to get started. So thank you for coming today, Emma. It's been really nice to have a chat.
Thank you. Thanks.
I've learned a lot more, so hopefully we'll pass it on and good watching.
Thank you.
Thank you.